Today is Patriots Day in the city of Somerville, and I'd like to welcome all of you. This is a beautiful day that I'm going to take full credit for because this is the first time that Patriots Day has been such lovely weather for many years. But it's a little warm for the marathon runners, but it's perfect for us, so take it. We'll take it. So thanks so much for coming today to help celebrate this historic occasion in the city of Somerville. As you all hopefully know by now, we didn't used to be Somerville. We used to be Charlestown beyond the neck, okay? And that was referring to the neck of land that attached us. So today we're just going to have a very short program before Paul Revere comes. Hopefully, if he comes in the interim, we'll resume the program when he leaves again. He's only here briefly, but you can also go back to the games after the program. So I want to first give credit to the musicians that are here today, which are the music of Prescott's Battalion. This is Jane and Peter, I think are there, and Sally. So thank you so much for coming today. So I would like to now welcome the invited guests that we have here on the stage who are taking time off of their busy holiday season to be here. Kristen Strazo, City Councilor at Large. Jake Wilson, also Councilor at Large. And I'm very pleased to say that we have two former mayors that are here today. Gene Brune. He was the mayor in the 1980s, for those of you that were not here at the time. And Dorothy Kelly Gay, who was the mayor in early 2000s. Huh? And they also have to welcome two school committee members that are here, Naima and Saeed. She's the one with the child. And she's Ward 5 counselor, sorry. Celia. And the former school committee people that are here today, I'm pleased with Celia Taylor and Carolyn Taylor, who's here with her grandchild behind. Okay, so now we're going to start. I'm going to have the poems being read just to put this all in context so you know what might have been happening here in the late 1700s. And this is the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. And we have two young Somerville students that are going to read the poem together. And Reva and Samika. So do you want to come up to the microphone? They're at the Prospect Hill Academy. Charter school, excuse me. Okay.
The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April in 75, hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year. He said to his friend, if the British march by land or sea from the town tonight, hang a lantern aloft in the belfry arch of the North Church Tower as a signal light. One if by land, and two if by sea, and I on the opposite shore will be, ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm, for the country folk to be up and to arm.
Then he said good night, and with the muffled oar silently rowed to the Charlestown shore. Just as the moon rose over the bay, where swinging wide at her moorings lay the Somerset, British man of war, a phantom ship with each mast and spar, across the moon like a prison bar, and a huge black hulk that was magnified by its own reflection in the tide. Meanwhile his friend through alley and street wanders and watches with eager ears, till the silence around him he hears the muster of men at the back door, the sound of arms and the tramp of feet, and the measured tread of the grenadiers, marching down to their boats on the shore.
Then he climbed the tower of the old North Church by the wooden stairs with stealthy tread to the belfry chamber overhead, and startled the pigeons from their perch on the somber rafters that round him made masses and moving shapes of shade, by the trembling ladder, steep and tall, to the highest window in the wall, where he paused to listen and look down, a moment on the roofs of the town, and the moonlight flowing over all.
Beneath in the churchyard lay the dead in their night encampment on the hill, wrapped in silence so deep and still that he could hear like a sentinel's tread the watchful night wind as it went, creeping along from tent to tent, and seeming to whisper, "All is well." A moment only he feels the spell of the place and the hour and the secret dread of the lonely belfry and the dead. For suddenly all his thoughts are bent on a shadowy something far away, where the river widens to meet the bay, a line of black that bends and floats on the rising tide like a bridge of boats.
Meanwhile, impatient to mount and ride, booted and spurred with a heavy stride, on the opposite shore walked Paul Revere. Now he patted his horse's side. Now he gazed at the landscape far and near. Then impetuous stamped the earth and turned and tightened his saddle girth. But mostly he watched with eager search the belfry tower of the old North Church, as it rose above the graves on the hill, lonely and spectral and somber and still. And lo, as he looks on the belfry's height, a glimmer and then a gleam of light. He springs to the saddle, the bridle he turns, but lingers and gazes, till full on his sight a second lamp in the belfry burns.
A hurry of hoofs in the village street, a shape in the moonlight, a bulk in the dark, and beneath from the pebbles, in passing a spark, struck out by a steed flying fearless and fleet. That was all, and yet through the gloom and the light, the fate of the nation was riding that night. And the spark struck out by that steed in his flight kindled the land into flame with its heat. He has left the village and mounted the steep, and beneath him, tranquil and broad and deep, is the mystic meeting the ocean tides, and under the alders that skirts its edge, now soft on the sand, now loud on the ledge, it is heard the tramp of his steed as he rides. It was 12 by the village clock when he crossed the bridge into Medford town. He heard the crowing of the cock and the barking of the farmer's dog, and felt the damp of the river fog that rises after the sun goes down.
It was 1 by the village clock when he galloped into Lexington. He saw the gilded weathercock swim in the moonlight as he passed, and the meeting house windows, black and bare, gazed at him with a spectral glare, as if they already stood aghast at the bloody work they would look upon. It was 2 by the village clock when he came to the bridge in Concord town. He heard the bleating of the flock and the twitter of the birds among the trees, and felt the breath of the morning breeze blowing over the meadow brown. And one was safe and asleep in his bed, who at the bridge would be first to fall, who that day would be lying dead, pierced by a British musket ball.
You know the rest in the books you have read, how the British regulars fired and fled, how the farmers gave them ball for ball from behind each fence and farmyard wall, chasing the redcoats down the lane, then crossing the fields to emerge again, under the trees at the end of the road, and only pausing to fire and load. So through the night rode Paul Revere, and so through the night went his cry of alarm to every Middlesex village and farm. A cry of defiance and not fear, a voice in the darkness, a knock at the door, and a word that shall echo forevermore. For born at the night wind of the past, through all our history to the last, in the hour of darkness and peril and need, the people will waken and listen to hear the hurrying hoofbeats of that steed and the midnight message of Paul Revere.
Well, round of applause. Thank you so much. And this is perfect timing because Paul Revere is on his way. Welcome, Paul.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Patriots Day. We are so proud and so happy that you all came out today to see the historic reenactment of Paul Revere. I'm with the National Lancers, part of the organized militia, military division of the Commonwealth. You would know it as the National Guard. We've been reenacting the Paul Revere ride since 1903, so we've been doing it a long time. And we really appreciate you guys coming out and supporting us and supporting this tradition. Before I get into the Paul Revere stuff, I want to remind everybody that Paul Revere was certainly an important patriot in our history, but we cannot forget today's patriots, the men and women that serve in the armed forces, that on a daily basis put themselves in harm's way for our freedom and protection. So we ask that you remember them, not only days like today, but all year round. Thank you. We'd like to thank the Massachusetts State Police for their escort today, and of course Somerville's finest for getting us here. If it wasn't for those guys, we wouldn't be able to do it. We wouldn't be able to be safe. So thank you. Thank you, State Police and Somerville Police. So I talked about the National Lancers. I'm going to tell you about the gentleman today to my right, Paul Revere. A few things about the actual reenactor, Sergeant Gallant, a 10-year veteran with the National Lancers, the horse unit. He's also an Air Force veteran. So not only does he serve the Commonwealth, at one time he protected our freedom. So thank you, Sergeant Gallant, for that. I've got a question for some of the people down in front here that haven't gotten to middle school yet. And I told you guys last year if you were here, does anybody remember or know what Paul Revere's horse's name was? You had your hand up first. What is it? Brown Beauty. I love it. I'm really surprised on how many people know that. The funny thing is that Paul Revere didn't own that horse. He borrowed it. Who did he borrow it from?
It was a doc. I forget the exact doctor's name, but it was a doctor somewhere.
It was Deacon Larkin. Deacon Larkin. And the horse was brown, and I'm sure it was beautiful. It was a Narragansett Pacer. What does that mean? Well, come up here a minute. Stand in front of everybody. Okay, stop. Now I want you to walk that way. Well, just walk. Swing your arms and walk. Right? Like you're walking normally. So your right arm goes forward when your left leg goes forward, right? Like when we walk. Right? You go ahead, walk. Right? So a pacer is opposite. And this is really hard. Try this. The right arm goes forward when the right leg goes forward. So that's what the hoofs do. That's what made that horse very unique. It was a pacer. Okay, I got more questions. Before I turn it over to Paul Revere, I got a few questions. What was Paul Revere doing that famous night? He was what?
He was warning the people of Lexington and Concord that the British were coming.
That's right. Why don't you say it in the microphone?
He was warning the people of Lexington and Concord that the British were coming.
That's right. Very good job. So he was spreading the alarm on the countryside that the regulars, meaning the regular British troops, were on the march. Okay, now we got to remember that everybody was British at that time. So Paul Revere did not say the British are coming. He said the regulars are out. The regular armed forces are out. Does anybody know why he was going to Lexington? We know he was spreading the alarm that they were coming. who was he really going to warn?
The farmers thought the regulars couldn't take their gunpowder and supplies.
That's pretty close. He was pretty close. A lot of people think that he was going out to Concord to warn that they had the military ordnance supply there in Concord, and we were worried about the British getting their hands on it, but that had already been moved. He was dispatched by Dr. Warren, who was also a member of the Sons of Liberty, because they were worried about Mr. Hancock and Mr. Adams, who were in Lexington, and he feared that they would be captured by the British troops. And we didn't want them to fall into the enemy's hands. So he was going to Lexington to warn them, and then he was going to go on to Concord to help protect the already moved ammunition. Okay? So, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Paul Revere, Man of the Hour.
Thank you all for having us. Thank you, Mayor. We're going to let you guys take photos with the horses in a little bit. And then I'm going to be off to warn John Hancock and Samuel Adams that the regulars are on their way.
To give another round of applause to the two young girls that just read The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere, Samika and Reza. Did an excellent job. So now I would like to welcome to the podium to have Michael come up to read The House by the Side of the Road. And the reason we're doing this poem, by the way, is because it was written by Sam Walter Foss, who was alive from 1858 to 1911. And the reason, he was born actually in rural New Hampshire, but he is actually very well known here in Somerville. And in fact, this park has something to do with him. Sam Walter Foss, who wrote this poem, his mother died when he was only 4 years old. So he had to grow up very quickly, and he had to do chores on his family's farm. And he only went to school in the wintertime. Some people might be envious of that, but nevertheless, even though he went to limited schooling, he went on to college and attended Brown University, where he actually graduated in 1882. He was a very popular poet here, and he wrote prolifically, as many as one poem a week for the local newspaper here in Somerville. And during his lifetime, he actually published 5 volumes of poetry. He became a long-standing librarian here at the Somerville Public Library, and he married a minister's daughter who attended the Methodist Church on College Avenue, which is still there today. He is with his wife. He actually had a daughter and a son. And this park was once known as Broadway Park, was renamed to Foss Park in 1921 in honor of their son, whose name was Saxon Conant Foss. And Saxon, the son, graduated from Harvard College in 1910. He served in World War I and was fatally wounded at the very young age of 30. He was honored with a Distinguished Service Cross in 1918 for his extraordinary heroism of his action in France. So with nothing more ado, I'm going to ask Michael to come up and read this poem, The House by the Side of the Road.
Good morning. The House by the Side of the Road by Sam Walter Foss. There are hermit souls that live withdrawn in the place of their self-content. There are souls like stars that dwell apart in a fellowless firmament. There are pioneer souls that blaze the paths where highways never ran. But let me live by the house by the side of the road and be a friend to man. Let me live in a house by the side of the road where the race of men go by, the men who are good and the men who are bad, as good and as bad as I. I would not sit in the scorner's seat, nor hurl the cynic ban. Let me live in a house by the side of the road and be a friend to man. I see from my house by the side of the road, by the side of the highway life, the men who press with the ardor of hope, the men who are faint with the strife. But I turn not away from their smiles and tears, both part of an infinite plan. Let me live in a house by the side of the road and be a friend to man. I know there are brook-laden meadows ahead and mountains of wearisome height, that the road passes on through the long afternoon and stretches away to the night. And still I rejoice when the travelers rejoice, and weep with the strangers that moan, nor live in my house by the side of the road, like a man who dwells alone. Let me live in my house by the side of the road, where the race of men go by. They are good, they are bad, they are weak, they are strong, wise, foolish, so am I. Then why should I sit in the scorner's seat, or hurl the cynic ban? Let me live in my house by the side of the road, and be a friend to man. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Michael, and he is a Somerville High School senior, a proud Somerville resident. Thank you very much, Michael. And last but not least, we're going to have a poem called The Midnight Ride of William Daws. So for those of you that have not heard, Paul Revere was not the only one that made this ride. And in fact, many people would argue that he didn't actually accomplish his full mission here. So we feel it is only appropriate for us to know this true, authentic history of what actually happened that night. So I'm going to ask Violet to come up, also a Somerville High School student, to read the response. Thank you.
The Midnight Ride of William Daws by Helen F Moore. I am a wandering, bitter shade. Never of me was a hero made. Poets have never sung my praise. Nobody crowned my brow with bays. And if you ask me the fatal cause, my answer only, my name was Daws. 'Tis all very well for the children to hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere, but why should my name be quite forgot, who rode as boldly and well God wot? Why should I ask? The reason is clear. My name was Daws, and his Revere. When the lights from the old North Church flashed out, Paul Revere was waiting about. But I was already on my way. The shadows of night fell cold and gray, as I rode with never a break or pause. But what was the use when my name was Daws? History rings with his silvery name. Closed to me are the portals of fame. Had he been Daws and I Revere, no one had heard of him, I fear. No one has heard of me because he was Revere and I was Daws. Thank you.
So, the history is now well known by all, I hope. So, thank you so much. So, last week we're going to have from the governor of Massachusetts, has brought by via Paul Revere himself, has handed us this, the proclamation from our Excellency Governor Maura Healey. And I'm going to ask Jake Wilson, who is your counselor at large, to do the duty.
Hello, everyone. I have a proclamation from the governor. Whereas, in commemoration of the historic events that marked the start of the American Revolutionary War, Patriots Day is observed annually on the third Monday in April. And whereas over the course of the evening of April 18th, 1775, Paul Revere and William Daws rode through the countryside from Boston to Concord, informing the local militias that the British had mobilized and were headed to seize and destroy militia weapons and ammunition in Concord. And whereas at Concord's North Bridge, a skirmish broke out, resulting in casualties on both sides. And with 400 militiamen outnumbering the 100 British troops, the British attempted to retreat to Boston with more militiamen continuing to arrive. And whereas the battles of Lexington and Concord marked the beginning of a long struggle for American independence from Britain. And whereas today we remember and pay tribute to the patriots who gave their lives in pursuit of liberty and independence. Now, therefore, I, Maura Healey, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim April 15th, 2024 to be Patriots Day, and urge all residents of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. Given at the Executive Chamber in Boston this 15th day of April, the year 2024, and of the independence of the United States of America, 247th. Huzzah! Huzzah!
Thank you, Jake. So we also have from Paul Revere the greetings from the office of the mayor of the city of Boston as well. My fellow citizens and friends, in the spirit of Patriots Day, I am delighted to join with you in celebrating the memory of our forefathers, where the roots of American democracy, industry, and culture first began and continue to flourish through their succeeding generations. Today, as we enter a new and exciting era in our city's history, we find a renewed sense of pride, patriotism, and vitality. From our vibrant downtown district, marked by architectural wonders and very historic landmarks, such as Faneuil Hall and the Old North Church, to the distinctive charm of our neighborhoods, this energy and optimism is evident throughout the city of Boston. As Paul Revere and William Daws once again ride out of Boston, let their message bespeak of the continuation of their revolution. We are proud of our heritage and of our world-renowned academic, financial, and medical institutions. But we are even more proud of the people who have grown to form the foundation of a very unique and exciting city. May Patriots Day 2024, our 249th, be a most memorable, exciting day for you all. My warmest regards, Michelle Wu, Mayor of Boston. So this gives the opportunity for Paul Revere and his comrades to continue the ride out to Medford and then Arlington. Thank you very much for coming. Okay, so I want to thank everybody for being here today, and I want to let you know I'm here. My name is Brandon Wilson, here on behalf of the City of Somerville, along with my colleagues here on the stage. But also know that this event is co-hosted by the Somerville Museum, and there are a number of the volunteers that are here have been organized by the Somerville Museum, and their new staff person, Grace Bryan, who so in the future, Grace will be organizing this on her own, I think. So thank you so much. The table's over there. Barbara Mangum is there as a president of the Somerville Museum, and a number of the trustees are up here on the stage as well, and the volunteers Jean Brune and Dorothy Kelly Gay are both trustees of the museum, as well as a lot of the volunteers at the various tables. So thank you so much for being here today and co-hosting this with us. And we have also the other volunteers are listed in the program. If you did not get a program that was at that first table over here, we urge you to do that to show our acknowledgments for Dunkin' Donuts over there, When Pigs Fly, Red Bones, Stop and Shop, and of course, and last but not least, DPW, who is here today every year helping us set up. So thank you, City of Somerville, DPW people, for all of you done, and thank you for this wonderful weather up there. God bless you all, and happy Patriots Day.
Let's hear it for Brandon Wilson, who's been doing this for decades.